Joe talks about Joe. And now, your host, Joe Slepsky.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Joe on Joe. It's me, your host, Joe Slepsky, and we are once again recording live here in Los Angeles, covering everything sequentially about G.I. Joe. That's right, Joe and Joe. It's the podcast where I've watched all the cartoons up through Extreme, and now we're working our way in order, and now we're working our way through all of the comic books in order. It is a yeoman's journey, and we're getting there. And today we're doing Joe and Joe Illustrated which is issue 135. That's right. It is the first issue that the book itself was, at least the trade dress was rebranded as G.I. Joe, starring Snake Eyes and Ninja Force. We're going to get to that part when we get to it. In the meantime, we're going to say thank you, all you listeners, for supporting the show. Thanks for following me on any socials that you may or may not do. It's at Joe and Joe Pod. Please give me a follow, check in, say hello. You can send me an email to joeandjoepod@gmail.com. Let me know what you think. We also have a Patreon if you want to help support the show, patreon.com/joeandjoepod. Every little bit helps keep the lights on here at the pit. And, while you're out there, you might as well throw some support at our wonderful sponsors, the Movies and a Meal podcast. Listeners, I know what you need in your life. You need more podcasts. And you also love movies. So why not do a podcast that's about not one movie. It's about not two movies. It's about 3 movies and a meal. I'm talking the Movies and a Meal podcast. This show is great. It's brought to you by Keith, Brad, and Ben, and each week they bring a new movie to the table, which they all discuss as a group. And it's not, your highfalutin movies. It's What We Do in the Shadows, The Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer, and Out of Sight. It's Bad Education, Ghost Rider, and A View to a Kill. It's X-Men Last Stand, Queen Sugar, The Mandalorian, and Major League 2. They are a lot of fun to listen to. You guys know Ben. It's our friend Ben Pensarga. He was a guest on Joe and Joe. In fact, Ben was the very first remote guest that I ever had on this podcast, so he's always got a special place in my heart. I'm really digging this. I just started listening to it last week. It is a lot of fun. They bring a guest in. The guest, I listened to their Heathers episode. They were joined by Kelly, and she went in depth on her favorite movie, which was Heathers, and it made me want to go watch Heathers to watch with them. I really dig it. So guys, find them out there at Movies and a Meal, Twitter, Instagram. Their website is moviesandameal.podbean.com. They put out 1 episode a week. Give them a listen, guys. Support them. Let them know Joe on Joe sent you. I don't think you're going to be disappointed. It is quite entertaining. And now back to the show. And I know they were talking about Prey. I was on a pod last week with a friend of the show, Shane Logan, talking about, on his show called The Action Nerd. And we were talking about Prey, the new Predator movie. If you guys haven't seen Prey, give The Action Nerd a listen. First of all, he gets my thoughts on that. We also did a previous episode on Predator, so there was a lot of, this was kind of a wrap-up conversation. I like Prey a lot. It's good. You guys should check it out. Make sure you see it. It's really good. Very much a rehash, just kind of a reset of Predator, but I'm down with seeing Predator fight people in different times and different places. I think more of that, please. But it was neat. Yeah, it was really enjoyable. And that young lady, I'm not the first one to say this. I saw someone on the internet make the comparison that young lady would be a fabulous X-23 in the Marvel universe. So Marvel, if you're paying attention, I don't recall her name. I'm not sure, but she was awesome, and she would be a fabulous, fabulous X-23. So give her a look. I know you don't need me to tell you that. So G.I. Joe news. I am awaiting some carded classifieds from Hasbro. They shipped a couple days ago. Very excited for that. We are just days away from the final orders on the Hiss Tank classified for the Cobra HasLabs, for the HasLabs for the Cobra Hiss Tank. Again, personally, I have not pulled the trigger for one. I've only have a couple, as of this recording, I have a couple days to make up my mind to see if I want to snag one or not. I hope you guys all have. And we did the Operation Recall just wrapped up. And I was with like 30 minutes left. I pulled the trigger on my Operation Recall support from our friends over at 3D Joe's, Carson Metaxas. Put together a really cool project, and I hope everyone backed it and hope everyone got on board with that, where they pulled in the legendary creators to make new characters in the G.I. Joe model. So that's pretty neat. I can't wait for that one to get fulfilled. It's pretty good. So, and congratulations, because it was a huge success. So congratulations over there to Operation Recall and our friends over at 3D Joe's. And now,
You were saying?
that's right, Stalker. It's our segment where we look at comic books that were on the shelf the same month of the book that we are talking about today. And today we are talking about Snake Eyes. Snake Eyes. Again, I got tricked. I got tricked by their clever trade dress. We're talking G.I. Joe 135. And it was out, it's got the cover of April 1993. So DC Comics, April of 93. Had, it's the start of the Milestone universe over at DC. I think we had one last month, and this month we get Blood Syndicate #1. And there also, I think it was Hardware. Did I say? Yeah, Hardware #1. Was there any other milestones that came out this year? I think that's it. Blood Syndicate and Hardware, which are both really great. Hardware is a lot of fun. It's kind of like their answer to Iron Man, but he's also an alien. He's kind of like Superman meets Iron Man. But it's a dude in a suit. But if I recall, he's an alien. Am I remembering that correct? But the what's neat about the Milestone stuff is really great creators, and they've recently finally gotten all the contracts in order to kind of revive it over at DC. So they're actually publishing new Milestone stuff, and they've collected all of this older Milestone stuff in omnibus right now. There's one, but they're going to be doing more, and they're not just doing them by book. The omnibus itself is, I believe, like kind of chronological. So it doesn't just like have all of Icon and all of Hardware and all of Static Shock. It's got a whole bunch of these books, because like to kind of just get, they're putting it as the Milestone universe, which is great. So there's at least going to be 2, probably 3, I imagine, of those omnibuses, and they're the thick, soft cover ones that have come in vogue in the last few years. Like The Walking Dead did one. It's the first one I remember seeing that was that thick and still like readable and wouldn't fall apart. Way back in the day was the Bone omnibus, and that's been out for a while. But those, you guys know the ones I'm talking about, the smaller format, so they're not the big heavy hardcover ones. It's a really great book. You should pick that up. So when G.I. Joe 135 was on the stands, Hardware and Blood Syndicate were just getting started out, which is pretty cool. Those are good books. Flash 75 was a great little mini arc. Not mini arc, really. It was just an arc. It was like the return of Barry Allen. And it was, to all intents and purposes, Barry Allen coming back. So Mark Waid had previously wrapped up the year 1 for Wally. And so that was kind of like resetting Wally's origin story for the readers. And of course, Barry Allen's going to be in a lot of that. And so a couple months later, then he goes, okay, now let's bring back Barry Allen. And what people, because it's Wally's book, and so what people wouldn't expect, and here we go, Barry's alive, post-crisis, that whole thing. And it's not exactly what you would think it would be. Well, I mean, unless you know comics, then it's not going to be Barry, because Barry stayed dead for a long time. And it's great. It's a really good run, and it's not Barry. It's one of his arch enemies. Spoiler alerts. And but it's a good little run. So that's in Flash 75. G.I. Joe fan favorite artist Mark Bright is drawing Green Lantern 38, and we're very close to the reboot of like that soft reset of Green Lantern, where he gets he goes a little power hungry, but it starts with, in a few months, with the destruction of Coast City, running off of the Superman stuff. And so when we go to the Superman stuff, Let's see where they're at. We are now. Oh, that's right. They took this. They took this month off. That's right, because Superman was dead. I forgot that they took these months off. That's right. They actually took time off from publishing Superman in order to honor him because they had his funeral and stuff. They actually didn't publish him for a month. I forgot that completely. So what we get instead is a Supergirl and Team Luthor one shot. That makes sense. And then the Superman Gallery, which is a bunch of pinups with a beautiful cover by Walter Simonson. Yeah, that's right. I totally forgot that. And Wonder Woman is another one of those classic Brian Boland covers. It's Wonder Woman working at I think it's called Taco Whiz. It's TW, but it's like a Taco Bell. But working at a Taco Whiz with a Taco Whiz hat on and all that stuff. It's a kind of a fabulous cover. The other thing, real quick, talk about is it's not a book I've read, and I've mentioned this before, but I'll own up to it. I've never read Sandman. They're up to issue number 48 in the comic book as of this month, G.I. Joe 135. But man, I started watching that show. Got about halfway through last weekend. It's great. If you guys, if you're fans of Sandman, I think you'll love it. And if you're not a fan of Sandman, which I would say is me, it's great. This show is awesome. What is it? I believe it's on Amazon. And where's it? Netflix? Netflix. I don't know. You know, you guys can find it. Yeah, I'm not here to advertise for them. But the Sandman show is fantastic. So kudos to those guys. I think it is Netflix. Kudos to them because they pulled it off. It's a wonderful, wonderful show. I'm halfway through. I haven't finished yet. So who knows? The last few episodes may be complete garbage, but take my word for it. And one final thing for DC this month was the first issue of Legionnaires. So Legionnaires #1. So this was a period of time where the Legion of Superheroes were so popular that they were able to support 2 series. And Legionnaires did run for like 4 years. So it wasn't a flash in the pan. It ran all the way up through it ran past 0 Hour. So it was cool. And if you recall, if you're a Legion fan, the regular Legion book followed the adult Legionnaires. Legionnaires followed the clone batch, SW6 batch of Legionnaires. And it followed their adventure. So it was like the young team that were in more traditional costumes, although they were updated for the 90s by, I think Chris Sprouse. I know he did the cover here. I think he did the designs on them too. And it's a really good design. I really like it because it translates very well into multiple costumes that still look like they're part of the same team. And for me, that's always a really good design for a team costume. Kind of like the early X-Men costumes. Anyway, and then the Legion followed the darker storyline of the adults. But Legionnaires #1 on the stands.
You were saying?
Yeah, sucker. I was. Over at Marvel Universe, Alpha Flight 119 features the Wrecking Crew, which is, let's see if I can name these. The Wrecker, of course, and that's the OG bad guy, construction-based bad guy, who had an iron crowbar that was blessed by Loki, and that gave him superpowers. Pile Driver. I want to say it's not Cannonball. It's not Wrecking Ball either. Pile Driver, Wrecker. It's off the top of my head. I don't know, but it's the 4 construction dudes. They're great. They're a great, fun super villain team of just dudes that show up to do traditional stuff like rob banks, right? Rob banks, destroy buildings, do things for money because that's all they kind of care about. More of that, please. More of that. I am still shocked to this day that we got 20 plus Marvel Universe movies and never did they do the Wrecking Crew. I believe we're getting Pile Driver. Yeah, we said that. I believe we're getting some Wrecking Crew stuff with She-Hulk. I've heard rumors that there's going to be a little bit of the Wrecking Crew tie-in, like being used there. I hope so because they're awesome. They're so much fun. They were part of Secret Wars. Like they're just a fun comic book supervillain team that you get the gimmick right away. And it's not super complicated. And within them over the years, they've developed these dynamic personalities. So the guy with the ball and chain, who is not Pile Driver, but he's super smart, and he's always trying to take over leadership from the Wrecker. But the Wrecker is like, it's my crew, literally the Wrecking Crew. I'm the leader. I have the enchanted crowbar. They all get their powers from the crowbar, but he gives it to them. It's kind of a weird Shazam way. But I love the Wrecking Crew, and they absolutely should be featured in one of these movies, you know, as just if not the major MacGuffin villain, but as constant foils. They absolutely should have shown up multiple times in the Marvel movies, because they make great villains to demonstrate the hero's potential. That's where I'm at with that. And you need villains like that, quite frankly. Not every villain should be a Kang, you know. Not every villain should be Thanos. Sometimes you just need the everyday villain to show your hero doing their thing and showing them in the normal world. You know, it's like when you open a rom-com with someone going to get coffee in the morning and they're just having trouble because they're stuck in traffic, you know. For superhero movies, the Wrecking Crew is that traffic, right? They are that coffee in the morning. So we need more of that in our superhero movies, in my opinion. Fantastic Four 375, that is a lenticular cover. Absolutely. There is G.I. Joe 135, of course. There are lots of people busting out on covers this month. Between that, Guardians of the Galaxies, there's a bust out. G.I. Joe's a bust out. Fantastic Four is a bust out. You could argue Ghost Rider 36 is kind of a bust out. I mean, a lot of comic covers are, but there's a lot this month. Midnight Suns Unlimited is out, and it has one of the greatest paintings of Ghost Rider you're ever going to see. Let me see who drew that. It's like a painted. It is. Mark Teixeira painted it. It's awesome. It's Ghost Rider doing a wheelie. You've seen it before. It's a lot of flames on the cover, and then it's it's funny. It is definitely the Danny Ketch version, but it says the featured character in that comic is Johnny Blaze. So I wonder if, anyway, that's cool. And if you're waiting for that Marvel Midnight Suns game, as spelled SUNS, recently they announced this week that that's been delayed. So if you have any video gamers out there, they just announced this week there's going to be a delay on that. They have not given us a solid date for that. What else? Venom Lethal Protector #3. Not a great series. Really not a great series. X-Men Adventures #6 is the retelling of that that first Wolverine Sabretooth fight from the X-Men animated series, which is just fabulous. I really, really dig that. That's a really good episode. Lots of strained faces. It's funny when you look at this like a wall. She-Hulk 50. That's a great cover. It's a great use of chromium too. So it's a black cover with green foil, and the green is the outline of She-Hulk's skin, and everything else on the cover is black. That's a really nice use of that technology. That's a cool cover. Lots of people in angst on the covers of Marvel Comics this month, I guess is what I'm saying. Yeah, lots of angst, but there always is. Really? I mean, Darkman Volume 2, #1, The Continuing Adventures of Darkman. Die, Darkman, die.
Now, mass is ready.
That's right. It's now time to get into what you're here for. G.I. Joe 135, starring Snake Eyes and Ninja Force. So, I wasn't happy. I remember not being happy about the change. And, because it more denotes more of a, we're just giving up and we're just focusing on ninjas. And I remember not liking the ninjas at the time. Now, I like ninjas per se, but I remember seeing the Ninja Force on the shelves and not being overwhelmed by them. I was quite underwhelmed by them. I was not buying G.I. Joe figures at the time. I was about 4 years out, or 5 years out from about 4 years out, I think, from actually purchasing them. But I would always check up on them. I really would. I was always going into the shop to Toy Store, to KB Toys at the Chicago Ridge Mall, to see what they had. It really did. And I remember seeing the ninjas and really being like, wow, they've lost their way. And then and I don't know what came first, this comic or that, but it was not a great time for me to enjoy them. So should there be a "the" on the cover? That's the burning question here. Should it say Snake Eyes and the Ninja Force? I don't know. Depends on how they want to brand it, I guess. But they're here. The trade dress for Snake Eyes is okay. That's the kind of thing where they, when they do, actually, this is a good example. Look through your Marvel Comics Presents, because you will see minor characters, and I'm not saying Snake Eyes is a minor character, but you will see minor characters from comic books get logo treatments. And some of them are good and they look good, and some of them don't. Some of them don't look like they've been given a ton of thought. I would say Snake Eyes is one of those logo treatments that is not great. Like if that were just a regular ongoing series, I would send it back. They're trying to do a little snake thing with the S's. Okay. I'm not a fan of the Snake Eyes trade dress, but you would get that on Marvel Comics Presents all the time, because that was a book that was used very frequently for copyright protection. So a character like now Wonder Man actually had his own series, but someone like that, like Wonder Man or Hellcat or someone like that, who like a B or C character who didn't really get their stuff, but they wanted to make sure they protected the copyright, they would slap together some logo and call it Hellcat, and they'd put it on there, and it'd be Marvel Comics Presents number 79 featuring Wolverine, and then you'd see Hellcat as a logo, and that was to do copyright protection. And if you look closely on this, you see the trademark next to the Snake Eyes, the final S in Snake Eyes. So they're doing the same thing on this too. So I don't love the logo. If this was just a regular book, I would have sent it back. I also don't love this look of Snake Eyes. I don't know why. Maybe it's the nose. Maybe it's the eyebrows. Maybe it's that it looks more like he's not, because he's not. I think it's, you know what? I think it's because he's not wearing goggles. Right? He's all in all of his outfits. He's always worn some kind of visor, goggle, sunglasses. Something where it's obvious that he's doing it. This one, they're built into his face mask, and that makes a difference to my eye. I don't like the smoke gray of his look either. I definitely am not a huge fan of this era's Scarlet. But you gotta come up with a ninja version of her costume. Okay, I'm fine with that. I mean, it's okay. But the Snake Eyes, this version of Snake Eyes, it's always rubbed me, I don't know, not right. There's also a thing happening in this era, and I think this is from the toys too, where like their lower halves are not as interesting as their upper halves, right? So like they're just like there's not as much going on below the belt. It sounds a little more than it meant to be. Than there is above the belt, and it's visually not as interesting to me. And maybe is it because the production wise it was easier, like less paint applications below the belt, like to make differences? I don't know. I have absolutely no idea the answer to that. But yeah, and I'm really seeing that a lot in the comic, and I don't necessarily think it's Andrew Wildman. I think it's the design of the characters. So interesting.
Yo, Joe!
And there she is in her new outfit. This issue also really goes hard with leaning into a real imagey hatchy style. Not in a fun way, I would say. Like this first page it's a lot. It's a lot of little hatching. It's fun, it's fun that, you open it with Scarlet throwing shuriken right at you. That's kind of cool. But, her hair is out of control. The proportions seem off. Everything just seems a little bit off here. Like her head's a little too small. Like, I don't, I don't know. But then you get some nice detail in some places. I like the detail on like the elbow guards thing, like that. That's really kind of cool. You know, like it's, I don't know. Like I'm back and forth on this. I'm really back and forth on the Wildman era. But she's just starting with look out, world, here comes some shuriken.
Yo, Joe!
Oh, before we go on, it's called Ninjas Own the Night. Script by Larry Hama, Andrew Wildman pencils, Stephen Baskerville inks, Bob Sharon coloring, Rick Parker lettering, David Wohl editor, Tom DeFalco editor-in-chief. And yeah, so the next page we get the result of who she's throwing these shuriken at, and it's Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow doing this back-to-back pose, like Bruise Brothers pose. Okay, you know, but they're you know, whatever, they're training. They're just like giving it to the last minute before they unsheathe their swords, and they cut these shuriken in half. So now there's 4 pieces of shuriken flying, and then they send those 4 pieces flying at the 4 ninja trainees, Shebang, Dojo, Jinx, and Nunchuck, who are sitting like on their knees on the floor with their hands behind their backs at their sides. Yeah, like behind their backs, like they're kind of sitting on their hands with their swords laid out in front of them. So that's why those guys are standing with their shoulders. The mission is to, or the what we call it, mission, practice, the exercise rather, that's the word, is to, like, you know, wait till the last minute and then stop something. So they slice these things in half, and right away, I don't love the Snake Eyes outfit. I think it's the giant eyebrows. It's the eyebrows. It's all in the eyes. It's the goggles and lack of eyebrows. I think if you put goggles on them, this outfit's not that offensive. The lighter color I can live with, I think. But I think you put goggles on them and it's not that offensive.
Yo, Joe!
I say offensive, like, you know, like it's Snake Eyes is not saying something terrible about my mother, but implying it because he can't speak. There's also just a predominant number of grenades drawn on people because he's drawing what was on the action figure. But like, if you look at Storm Shadow, has just a random grenade on him. Scarlet just has a grenade hanging in between the center of her chest, and they're drawing it because I believe, you know, that was the order. Like that's what's on the action figure, right? When you look at the action figure, Lady J just has a grenade. I'm looking at it right now, and she does just have a grenade hanging from her chest. So I say Lady J again, sorry, Scarlet just has this grenade hanging from the middle of her chest. So it's funny that they're drawing it, and it looks as awkward as it sounds, which is something. So everybody, they pull their swords and they all stop the various shuriken. It's nice to see Jinx back too, by the way. It's nice to see her join the team. And we see Scarlet being a little upset about them kind of leaving her out. And we see that Storm Shadow always considered, says, we always considered you an honorary ninja. She says it's the problem. It was never really a party. When the G.I. Joe Ninja Force was formed, was I included? I don't even rate a name plaque in the practice hall. Why wouldn't they give her a name plaque? And what are these name plaques for? Because I'm looking at this name plaque area, and there is some kind of scroll that I'm assuming has some kind of Arishikage, like creed. And then there are literally just name tags like you would see at a McDonald's, like Employee of the Month, Bill Johnson, like working the fry machine. And here's Bill Johnson, and he's our Ninja of the Month. And that is what is on the wall here. So I don't know what that's all about, but it's exciting.
Yo, Joe!
And Snake Eyes tries to calm the situation, as one does. But she's not having it. Don't try to mollify me, Snake Eyes. She says, you never offered me a spot in the family business either. After all we've been through. And this is what's great. She also says, or is it this page? Oh yeah. So she's just angry, and she leaps up, and she escapes. She leaves this training center, and she says, Snake Eyes is just, don't follow me, and she means it. She leaps off into the night. So she's very, very, very upset. It's the next page that she says the best line. Hold on.
Yo, Joe!
Where she basically says, you might say I'm a little fed up. Has it occurred to you that I've been waiting around a long time for other things too? That's awesome. And I really do like that, because that's just personal stuff and character development. And, the other thing being, come on, Snake Eyes, make an honest woman out of her. She survived getting shot in the head for you. Come on, she stuck with you through thick and thin faces. Well, usually thin. And she says, that's it. You guys are terrible. I know you can't speak, but you could have written a note, or, I'm going to be honest, use ASL. They all got to know ASL at this point. The fact that they don't, and that's not a major part of this, is just baffling to me. But that's exciting. So she is out of here.
Yo, Joe!
As if Snake Eyes didn't have enough to worry about with Cobra, he's also got to deal with girl problems. She calls a taxi. She gets in this mysterious taxi. And who's the driver? It's General Hawk. And we see that she's actually up to something. He says, the driver, we don't know who it is yet, but says, the driver says, you could drop the act, Scarlet. Scanners don't show any surveillance. Well, I did it. I didn't want to do it, but I did it. Are you sure this is going to work? He says, there's never any guarantees, Scarlet. There's just no other way. So my question here is, and, I haven't read forward, I don't read ahead on these, is, Larry always wrote about wanting to, he writes it kind of issue to issue. I wonder if he knew why he was doing this, or if he just thought it would be fun to send her off. Because that's all we get for her this issue. It would just be kind of fun to send her off on this mysterious agenda. And now she's on the cover of the next issue, so I'm assuming we get some kind of answer quickly. But yeah, just I'm curious as to the creation of this. But this is neat. It's neat, and it's a fun way to do it. And why did she have to lie to the guys? Why did she have to make a scene of it? They're talking about surveillance. Does that mean, is that bugged? Do they know that it's being bugged? I don't know. All these are questions that are not answered, and that's cool, because then that keeps you wanting more. So now we move. Meanwhile, in New Jersey, we're nothing good. As I believe that was in Hamilton, the musical, something like nothing good happens in New Jersey. That's nothing good ever happens in G.I. Joe in New Jersey. There is the Amalgamated Superconductor Corps, and it is a couple of scientists working on something. We don't know exactly what it is yet, but it looks like some kind of laser weapon. And someone's breaking into this place in a giant van, and they seem to be shooting arrows out of this van.
Yo, Joe!
Which is a big hint. So now on this page, we get some insight into what's happening here. And this is the first appearance of Doctor Biggles-Jones, who has made multiple appearances and is Sidney Biggles-Jones is a recurring character in G.I. Joe comic books. And here she is, and she's working on this. It's a railgun prototype. So you have some of the guards talking about what it is and how big the security is. This is always good exposition, right? So you're telling you're filling us in on what's happening, but you don't necessarily want the guys who are working on, in this case, the laser, to be constantly telling other people what it is, because they would obviously know what it is. So you find other ways to do it. And in this case, you get some of the guards talking about it. And it's like a railgun, and it's just a really advanced, using magnetic pulses, things like that, to fire projectiles without combustion, right? And they do it with magnets, super cold superconductor magnets. It's amazing. You see, the aluminum coating turns to plasma and pushes. Are you even listening? And this guard is just being amazed at how attractive Dr. Biggles-Jones is made out to be. So how dare she be a smart and beautiful woman, because it's distracting this guard.
Yo, Joe!
And outside, there's no scheduled pickup, But that truck rolls up, and it is the V2 Night Creepers, who look creepy. I gotta say, they look real creepy. These were, this was, again, not my era of collecting. So when I went to look at the actual, the actual figure, they look good. It's kind of cool. I mean, it's the pink and it's the bright pink part, which always threw me off, right? So that was never, all those neon colors always threw me off in this era. Like all of his weapons. Also, this was when I'm sure to save money, they just punched out, or just molded all the weapons that you had to punch them out yourself, and so they would just include the weapon mold on the action card. You guys, I'm sure you guys know a lot more better than I do what I'm talking about. You've seen it, which is always wild to me. It's like do-it-yourself weapons, but it saved them money, and I guess it helped them keep costs down, I imagine. But yeah, it's the neon that was throwing me off. But these Night Creepers look creepy. They really do. Now, in the pictures of the Night Creepers, they have this back fur, I guess. You know, like it's like they're drawn with like I guess it's called like a Night Creeper cape on the figure. That's what it's called. But I don't see it on the actual figure itself. Like I wonder if it was just molded on the back, because the picture I'm looking at doesn't have a picture of his back. But in the comic, though, it's drawn, so you see these flares on the back of them. That's why that's what caught my eye. It's like they're wearing fur. You know, like they've got these fur coat backs, and I don't know if they use that for camouflage or for flying through the air, if it helps them. But also, I'll say this, though, the coloring in this book, much better version of the Night Creeper than the toy. The toy is, like this bright blue, well, weaponry is bright blue, but the figure's got a little bit subdued of that same blue and like kind of a pink. These guys are more of a dark purple with a blue, with like an aqua blue or a teal blue, really. I think it looks better on page. So they're attacking these guards, and they're breaking into this place.
Yo, Joe!
A nice little 2-page spread here for the Tiny Toons Buster's Hidden Treasure game. And the alarm is off. So here we got more people screaming. Again, this is just the era of everyone screaming. So you got a guy, one of the guards, screaming into the system, but they can't alert the doctor because the warning light is on. So the gun is firing. So we're seeing that this prototype weapon is completely operational, a la the Death Star, and it burned through this steel wall. So it's a successful test.
Yo, Joe!
So we kind of can imagine why the Night Creepers are even there. They're there to steal this laser. The lights go dark. The guards are all, what? It's a great way to get some of the gore into the book without having to deal with censors, and keep the kids happy, kind of a thing, where the lights go out and everyone's in shadow and you see blood being sprayed, but because it's in shadow, it's not really shown. Then this drawing of the Night Creeper in the lower left panel here, this is awesome. This is actually a really good drawing of it, where it's like his eyes are like Cyclops glowing red. Like they're angry. They're really angry, which is cool. I think it looks great. I don't love the costumes of these guards. And again, they're throwaway guards, so it's fine. But we're getting that issue, and this is maybe just the way Wildman draws it, of like, speaks back to what I talked earlier about, like, I don't like the lower sections of the way they're drawn. Like, once you get past these guys' waist, they really look like Ken dolls. There's just this giant flat crotch that doesn't look real. And I don't know if that's, I guess it's Wildman's style, but what it does is it just actually brings attention to the fact that they're not great. They're not well, really realistically rendered figures. They look like action figures. Like, for real, I wouldn't be surprised if we if he drew from like she drew from a posed action figure, or like one of those, not action figure, one of those like artists models, that if he used that a lot for his references, I would not be surprised, because that's what you get. And I think that is what I'm registering with when I talk about like the lower sections. I talked about this last episode too, of Snake Eyes and everybody. Like once you get to the waist and down, everything looks weird. And I wonder if that's why. But that's what's throwing me off. It really is.
Yo, Joe!
So the door explodes, and that's the Night Creepers coming in. And while their helmets are messed up, they kind of look like Cylons, but they also kind of look cool. But they have so many more grenades. There are so many grenades. And yes, there is a bandolier with grenades on the action figure, so I get it. I get it. But did ninjas need that many grenades? I guess I'm going to ask Hasbro designers. Why so many grenades on ninjas? Why? But Biggles-Jones and this other scientist are cornered. And the Night Creeper takes out one of them. And we're led to think it would be Biggles-Jones, because it says we don't need the lab assistant or an extra witness. So they get a message to kill him, or to kill someone. Now we assume, well, it's funny. Actually, no, we don't assume that, because it says we have the railgun as well as Doctor Biggles-Jones and the lab assistant. So we learn that he's the lab assistant and she's the brains. She's the brains, sweetheart.
Yo, Joe!
So they do. They kill that poor dude. More flat crotches. Look at his forehead. That kind of like hatching to give shape. That's a big turnoff for me. But it's a real hallmark of this era. So if you guys have this comic, look at what I'm talking about. It's a real hallmark of this era. But like this Cobra Commander on this page, fabulous. Fabulous rendering of Cobra Commander. I love the angle. I'll say this though, we could have worked on the chair that he's sitting in and have it actually be like, it doesn't look like that chair is where his arms are. That chair needs to be modified a little bit in order to accommodate where his arms. But it's not terrible. It's just seems a little off. But the actual rendering of his body is fabulous. I love this drawing. This is a really fun drawing of Cobra Commander, and lots of great detail on it. And also just skewing the camera like that adds a lot of dimension to what could be a real flat page.
Yo, Joe!
So more Night Creeper action. So now what we learn is that there's other operations going on around the world. So what we just saw was just one of them on the previous page. He said that those guys, they're slightly ahead of schedule. The others are just beginning. So now we're learning that we're getting status updates coming in. The Merv hijacking team, which Merv is and here we get multiple independently targeted re-entry vehicles. So I think missiles, multiple launch missile kind of a thing. So they're on a train in it doesn't really say actually, but it's more Night Creepers with those weird backs stealing missiles from a train. So that's successful.
Yo, Joe!
And then we get Night Creepers on a boat, and they're stealing stuff from the boat. They're stealing a cargo of microchips. And they're going to be transferring it to the hold of the Cobra submarine. And then a chemical weapons tanker has been hijacked in Germany. And something about it's a Scud deliverable toy. So something about Scud missiles. But this is great. This is cool. This is how I like my Cobra Commander, where he's got multiple missions going, and then we're not having to sit through the full setup. We saw one execution, and then if you look at the storytelling of it, that execution took a few pages, and then the one operation here just took one page, And then on this page, we get 3/4 of it for an operation, and then we just get one panel for a whole nother operation. So it's like you give the setup that takes a little while so everyone kind of understands what's happening, and then you can get smaller and smaller glimpses into what the other things are happening so that you understand it's a whole big thing, and you don't have to tell each story. You don't have to give like 1 or 2 pages to each story. So that's a smart way to compact the storytelling.
Yo, Joe!
And we even have another one here. We have a plane getting hijacked. A commercial airliner over the Atlantic. And there's some top secret courier on the plane with a briefcase detailing the dirty dealings of major defense contractors. Bum, bum, bum. So, blackmail information. And then you end all that with a close-up on Cobra Commander, and that's kind of how you do it. So it starts with this Cobra. Well, it starts with the adventure, then it goes to Cobra Commander, showing that he's behind it all. Then it goes elsewhere, and then it brings it all back into Cobra Commander. So that's cool.
Yo, Joe!
So on this page, and I really like all the rendering on this page. This is a well-drawn page. We see the fallout from last issue. Because remember, Firefly was left to the Slice and Dice, and they were going to presumably kill him. But we learn here that he actually slipped away. And Zorana's back with Cobra Commander. She's upset that he left her languishing in the dungeons of Cobra Island. Sounds like they were there for a few months. So it seems like that they're referencing that plot line, but they're just kind of letting it go. I don't think they've established exactly where Cobra Commander is right now. Might be, is it on the next page? No, they really don't. So we actually don't, I don't think we know where Cobra Commander is at this moment. Yeah, we really don't. So we'll see. Maybe that'll be a reveal next issue. But Road Pig is there with Zorana, and Slice and Dice are they're saying that they put Firefly to rout, and Zorana's pointing out that more like he slipped away. So Firefly's still alive.
Yo, Joe!
And back in New York City, Snake Eyes, who is now probably very angry because his girlfriend just left him, is beating the crap out of all the other ninjas during a quote-unquote training exercise. And you could see that he's working out his aggression. But if you look closely again, more crotch stuff. This is part of my issues here, where it's they look like action figures. But Storm Shadow points out, like, he did you a favor by beating you up, so they all have to thank him, which is really weird. Snake Eyes, very upset, doesn't say a word, and he leaves. Yeah, not a fan of this outfit, but he jumps up. I do think it's hilarious that this dojo they're in apparently has no exit except to leap 10 feet in the air. So, like, if someone found it, entered, or if they were having guests, there would be no way for that guest to get out once they've kind of lowered themselves down into this dojo.
Yo, Joe!
Strange design. I feel like it's not very feng shui. And so the other ninjas are complaining that just because Snake Eyes is going through some stuff, he doesn't have to take it out on us. There's a lot of bickering. Jinx is involved. And Storm Shadow steps up, and he pulls his sword out, and he cuts, to me, what appears to be doesn't seem to be a difficult cut, but I guess it's cutting a piece of wood directly in half. But I don't know. That seems accomplishable to me. But it's like a training dummy that he cuts in half.
Yo, Joe!
And Storm Shadow claims that was the most difficult cut, or that was a most difficult cut for years. I was successful at it only once in every 10 attempts. It wasn't until I attempted to teach the technique that I was able to advance my form to such a degree that I could split the Makiwara board with every cut. So it's cool that they're using actual names. I'm assuming that's actually a Makiwara board. And he's splitting it right down half. So I guess that's the difficulty there. And he says, can you tell me why? And he says, it's because the mind must be straight. So in order to teach someone something, you must first organize the thoughts in your head before you can communicate it to someone. And I got to be honest, Larry's right. If you've ever taught someone something that you know, you organize it much better in verbalizing it and in vocalizing it. And in training someone, you can see the things that you know about stuff, and you often surprise yourself. This happens to me a lot. I hope it happens to you guys too. A lot of times you surprise yourself with exactly how much you do know about a subject once someone asks you to start explaining / teaching someone else that subject. And it's good. And it's not to get too weird about it, but it's kind of good for your spirit, because you are you're kind of validating your own knowledge. Like you're surprising yourself with how much you actually do know about a topic, whatever the topic may be. It could be fly fishing, it could be wrenching, it could be, drawing. But you surprise yourself with how much you know, and then you give yourself confidence, and then you see the student learn it and achieve their goals with the knowledge you shared with them. And it's really fulfilling. Like, I really mean that. My wife's a teacher, so I see her do this all the time. I've helped people. I've instructed some people in a few things over my life. I mean, we probably all have. And it's always really rewarding in that regard, where you can kind of give someone some tips and you watch them flourish. So this is actually a really cool life lesson in the middle of G.I. Joe. And then a snake guy's sword gets thrown on the ground once again, 2 issues in a row.
Yo, Joe!
Snake guy's up on those rafters, and he's like, hey, come with me. And when he left the roof, he's pointing across the city, and he sees a whole bunch of people doing stuff, and he don't like it.
Yo, Joe!
And this is great. Storm Shadow says the other ninjas, they can see them only because they're ninja. Snake Eyes can tell who they are and what they're doing because he's a ninja master. So he has more senses. And so he can see that they're night creepers, and they're skulking around the old water tower, Storm Shadow's old water tower that used to be his hideout. So they're gonna leave this, they're gonna leave their current dojo and go find out next issue. There's weird coloring / hatching on Storm Shadow's face in this last panel that makes it look like he's cut open like a professional wrestler all across his forehead. I don't think that's what's meant, but it's odd and awkward, and I don't like it. More grenades visibly drawn again because they're part of the costume, so I get it. And that's it. And that's how it ends. It says next issue Ninja Battles. I will say this. Another issue where the Ninja Force actually doesn't do anything. Again, they don't do anything in this issue. They train and they talk, but they're actually not doing anything. So more often than not, we've seen the Ninja Force do nothing. There is a cool thing about this comic book that I didn't mention before, is this was polybagged with a trading card. So I still have mine. It came with Duke, codename Duke, file name Conrad Hauser, grade 8 Master Sergeant, birthplace St. Louis, Missouri, primary military specialty, Battle Corps Squad Leader. And this is card M1. It says to complete your set of G.I. Joe Search and Destroy trading cards, watch for specially marked G.I. Joe packages containing additional cards coming soon to a store near you. And these are the photo cards. So this is Duke. This is an actor dressed up as Duke. I'm sure some of you know his name. I do not. But he's got the blonde buzz cut. He's carrying a pistol. He's got grenades on him. Hey, never let it be said there are not grenades. He's got 3 grenades strapped to his chest. It's awesome. And he's got the G.I. Joe logo on his chest. It's really cool. Next month, spoiler alert, we have the new look Scarlet being assaulted by a Power Ranger looking villain that is a Night Creeper V2. Boy, that costume is rough. But you guys know they did a whole bunch of commercials with these looks, if I recall correctly. So this is the trading card. So if you've ever, I actually don't know the story of these trading cards. Did they ever really release a full set? Were they just with the comic books? Were they included in the packaging? How many are there? What's the deal? Maybe I'll look it up. Maybe someone else on social media will reach out and be like, dummy, here's the link. Here's everything you need to know about these live action trading cards. But either way, That was G.I. Joe 135. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. And now you Joe, enjoying is half the battle.